everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to another Non-Gamers React to Video Game Music episode. Although in this case, Kevin has been here before, but you know, we'll continue the education. I don't think you've gone and become a gamer, have you? No.
I am certainly not a gamer, but this is the electric boogaloo version.
Have you stopped to think about music and games in a different way since the last time you came on, or?
A little bit. I mean, I've definitely gone back and listened to a few of the things that you played for me. I really like that Warframe.
Oh, this is what you are.
You know, my life has changed a fair bit in those years. I've totally just been continuing to dig deep in my musical career and life and think about why I do music and what music is supposed to be for people. And I'm ready to hear some more.
Kevin, as a person that I know, is very intelligent. And so I wanted to bring music that I felt was a certain degree of sophistication makes it sound like other music is unsophisticated. But what I mean to say is I'm feeling in the mood to dig into some meaty stuff that we both have a deep frame of reference for. You'll enjoy this episode, guys. Let's just put it this way. This is from a game called Sonic the Lost World, which is a very extremely mediocre Sonic gaming experience, but the soundtrack is a delight.
I must admit I have played a Sonic game, but probably not since the Genesis days.
Yeah, but even that's changed, and the sound font of the Genesis, which was really special at the time, even everything's kind of changed now, which is excellent. This is Midnight Owl from Sonic the Lost World, and it's not to say that the Sonic game is inherently bad. I mean, it's fine. It's basically trying to copy another game, which is Super Mario Galaxy, which I'm sure you've heard of. So it's kind of, this was the Sonic version of Super Mario Galaxy, and it just kind of missed the mark, but the music is, honestly, it's one of my favorite Sonic soundtracks. So obviously the first Sonic song you've heard since the Sega Genesis, I mean, does that kind of surprise you?
I guess the first thing would be real instruments, which is nice. Yeah, away from the sort of 8-bit soundscape. No, the mood is still playful, and I guess I expected it to be a little more fast-paced.
That's just one. Yeah, there are plenty of fast-paced, obviously.
Yes, and it kind of has a little more like Latin feel than what I would think for sonic, but that's probably part of the whole experience.
I think it's funny. Like the accordion is kind of an underrated piece of music, piece of an instrument, but I also think that it's also because the accordion has a very specific sound that I think in like media like this it works best in.
Put you in a place, right?
Put you in a place, and also, don't you feel? I don't know. You tell me. Like I find that accordion is extremely playful and funny.
Yeah, it sounds like not too serious. Like, don't take yourself too seriously. Like, this is accordion. Well, there could, of course, be serious accordion music, but, it kind of puts you sort of outdoors in a cafe in, Paris or something, or Madrid. And, that's that kind of evening feel. I think you said something midnight or something was the track.
Midnight Owl, yeah.
Midnight Owl, yeah. So, it's kind of like after hours. There's a little bit of wine. There's a little bit of maybe lingering cigarette smoke from the passersby. And that's kind of like the vibe I'm getting.
One of the other things that I also really appreciate about it is that it kind of ebbs and flows. And so it always resets, but it kind of it will start and then it'll expand. It kind of feels like it's breathing in a way. It has this
variations.
It almost feels like it's an inhale and an exhale, an inhale and an exhale. And then, you inhale like a mosquito, which is why you get a fly, which you get a little quirky. It's just quirky. It's just like charming.
Counter melodies and things.
Where would you rank this, in a fresh ranking? I'm going to try something new this episode. We're going to do non-gamers rank video game music for the first time. Where would you rank this out of a 10?
It's good. It's 6.5, something like that.
Okay, 6.5, we'll take it. But yeah, that's dope. So I wanted to start kind of light. I also wanted to pop over to a beautiful theme. This is a character theme. So I'd love to hear, as we listen, your sort of deductions, I suppose, on what you think the character is doing or what the character's sort of ethos is. If there's one thing that video game music does exceptionally well, is obviously like connecting us to character, modus operandi, or personification through music. So this is Lightning's theme from Final Fantasy 13. Final Fantasy 13 is a complicated game. It's not that it's bad. It's kind of similar actually to Sonic Lost World, where it's good. Isn't necessarily like a great Final Fantasy game. I don't even know what that means, but it's just like it's kind of a mess. The battle system's interesting. It's complicated. You've heard of Final Fantasy before?
Yeah, I remember playing Final Fantasy 12.
Okay.
That outs me as somebody who gamed into the 2000s.
Yeah, but you haven't gamed in like 20 years. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about that? And then we'll talk about the characterization.
I mean, it's definitely telling a story. That is, the word that keeps coming to my mind is ungrounded. So like, there's all this stuff that's happening with the harmony that's leading you to believe that it's going to land on a sort of home key, and then it keeps sort of evading that resolution. So there's these suspensions, and there's this like sort of tonic dominant feel that we expect because of our cultural training in classical music that's in our ears. And then it keeps just sort of slinking away around the satisfying conclusion. Even the melody, like the initial melody is like, so it starts at da, da, and then you expect it to go to here, which would be like the home key. And it just never gets there. It just kind of goes back into the, so if there's a sequence you're expecting to hear, it would be like 2-5-1 in like a jazz sort of setup. It goes 2-5, and then instead of going to 1, it goes back to 2, and then, so it's like it's actually moving farther away from the resolution, and so it gives you this feeling of like I'm kind of not anywhere, and I'm kind of like moving towards something, but I don't really want to get to the destination. So that's what makes me feel like maybe it's meant to make you feel a little uneasy.
It's an interesting thought, isn't it? Because I mean, musically, like the tonal quality is quite warm and I like
lush.
It's very lush, yeah. I also find that the da dee da da don don da don 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 dee da don don dee da da dee da dee, and that's also interesting too because it kind of has this. It's very rhythmic, and then we have this bit of stretch da dee da dee da don, and then it goes higher, as if it's this searching for something, like you say. Or I also think like there's action in that. The rhythm indicates this kind of movement, and I don't know, I hear confidence in it, but also like femininity and sensitivity. Do you like this sound? Like, was it nice?
Yeah, and the harmony is like engaging. It gets me thinking, so that's what I like is in when you talk about sort of the more complex music, I like for music to sort of challenge me and make me rethink how I think about music, So I had an initial expectation, and then it was subverted, pretty quickly, and I really like that.
When you think about music, what usually comes to mind first? Like what when you hear a new piece, or when you hear a piece that like is it an emotional tether, or is it a technical tether? Like where do you go first?
Structure, the form.
Okay.
So like anytime you hear something new or see something new, maybe like a piece of visual art, you're trying to relate it to something you've seen before. So like you're trying to recognize in it something that you're familiar with and that either reminds you of a setting or a story or whatever it is. Actually, there was something in this number where like I can't remember exactly what the beginning part of the melody, but the end of it was da 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 da. Mm-hmm. And it's made me think of maybe just because I have video games on the brain, but it made me think of Super Mario 3. And you have the warp whistle, and it goes da da dee da da dee.
Isn't that Zelda?
Is that Zelda?
Ba da 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 ba dee da. Yeah, that's Zelda. I only know that because I've been playing a lot of Zelda. That's Zelda.
Yeah. It's an old Zelda though, but that little it reminds me of this sort of like fantastical thing, or like it's like a little flourish of there's something magical or mystical happening.
Totally.
All of that comes from the culture that we're surrounded with. I mean, if we didn't have those stimulus of associations with those sounds being fed into our brains all the time, there's nothing inherently magical about chromatic 16th notes. It's just how it interacts with our cultural history. So like that interests me when I hear a new piece, is like, how does it relate to what I've heard before? And then how does it surprise me? So if it's relatively predictable, I'm less excited about it. And if it subverts my expectation into something that is maybe a little more meaningful, that is what gets me excited.
It's very interesting to me because I never really thought about this until I heard you talking about it, talking about the theme and the things, the notes and the chords, and that I tend to default to thinking about music from an emotional feeling rather than
how it makes you feel.
And so it's like something could be very simple, but I can connect to it based on the feelings that kind of arise within me. And I just realized that not everybody feels that way. And like not everybody defaults to emotion first. But that's kind of how I've always been.
I would like it to. I mean, it's just as a sort of like, I don't know, decades long sort of venture through the musical world, I've gotten very in my head about, you know, what works for me and why does it work for me? You know, so like I'm seeking that, you know, emotional connection. I'm often using brain energy while I'm listening to suss out why something makes me feel a certain way, rather than just allowing it to
feel. Yeah, it's almost like a boundary.
Yeah.
You can come in, but you got to work through like this first.
Yeah, it's like paralysis by analysis. I mean, that's what makes art different from science. I mean, it's like this like unexplainable nature of it. Like I said, there's nothing inherently magical about chromatic 16th notes, but we associate it with a thing that's like in the clouds or in the ether and has some sort of otherworldly nature to it. And so that makes us feel a certain way.
Yeah.
Which is pretty exciting, actually.
I think so. How would you rank this if you were like just to rank it out of 10?
Not a lot to complain about.
It's inoffensive.
Well, yeah. But I mean, it's interesting. It's not like, I don't know, like 8. It's good.
That's good.
It's really, really
cool. So we're going to move over to a different style, but same sort of veneer. This is from Hitman, and it's called Apocalypse. This is Jesper Kyd. Jesper Kyd is a luminary of the video game sort of world, also a gamer himself. This is from Hitman Blood Money. Do you know the Hitman series?
I just know that it exists.
Hitman is what it sounds like. You play as a hitman, codename Agent 47. Agent 47 seems like a cold, bald-headed killer. He's got a barcode in the back of his head. You know, the story of Agent 47 kind of expands as it goes, but this is what he does, and he's extremely good at it. And this is Apocalypse from Blood Money. What do you think of that?
That's interesting. I mean, if I didn't know it was from Hitman, I would think it was like medieval sort of battle preparation music. To put that soundscape into a modern context is interesting.
It's so like
The drums are very not modern.
yeah.
They feel like, calfskin, like
Yeah.
really basic, simple, large drums. It just puts you in that feeling where you just want to put on your armor and your helmet and go for it.
It's visceral. What's funny is that like I actually, because I've played Blood Money and I've played a lot of the Hitman games, for me it really feels like skulking in the shadows, and it's like approaching the prey, and that feeling of like, and especially as it builds, it's like you kill and then you're right back to like, and but I agree with you in that if it does feel like it's a preparatory war track that, it should be boring. And I find it, and I never listened to the whole thing, and I was engaged that entire time, and it's just repeating itself over and over and over with some variation.
Yeah, it doesn't change.
Right.
So it doesn't. It's not. It doesn't have different sections. Basically, it builds and it kind of and then it comes down and it builds again. But like, it doesn't have like a separate. I wouldn't say there's like a B section or a theme or anything like that. But I mean, as far as the build up goes, it transforms from the beginning with only the voices and then adding the drums and adding the instruments, the flute first, and then more instruments,
the horns and the trumpets. Yeah.
And then it's like tam strokes are kind of cool. One thing I noticed was you can tell it's recorded by a real choir because their like vocal quality changes. So, like you can tell like a couple of the men are getting a little tired.
Yeah.
But it's good though because it makes it feel more like real. It's so much different from like the old, MIDI sort of produced electronic voices.
It's an interesting conversation, right? Because it's like, I think I've started to really shift, and maybe because I've done like 40 of these, but like the more I talk to like musicians, the more I'm like, oh yeah, MIDI was cool, but I would much rather hear a live orchestra than hear like VSTs or like, sort of samples.
It depends. I mean, there's certainly a place for electronica and electronic music.
Of course.
The humanness of the struggle of the musicians becomes part of the story. Mm-hmm. So
that's deep.
So basically, like when I go to an opera, you and I are both tenors. We're mostly listening for the tenor, let's be honest. I'm not only following the struggle of the character that the tenor is playing in the story, I'm also following how this singer is going to
navigate,
because it's like, this is a challenging and unnatural thing to do with your body. And so that becomes part of the drama. And I think that's the same with a violinist or a cellist or
how are they going to navigate the passage?
It's like an athletic event. It's like going to watch somebody do weightlifting or something. It's like, can they get over this hurdle?
Is their spine going to break, or are they going to lift the 400 pounds?
And if it's preordained because it's electronic, it's like we know the limitations of the.
There's no risk.
Yeah, there's no risk. Exactly.
That's interesting.
So like the fun of the human music making experience is that it might go wrong, and you don't want to be there necessarily when it goes wrong, but you want there to be an element of overcoming that.
Yeah, it's that tightrope thing is.
Yeah, totally.
I watched a part of. I turned it off because I found it incredibly boring. But I watched part of Callas, the movie.
Oh yeah,
it's on Netflix now. The film with Angelina Jolie. I was more intrigued by like, how is she going to sound like Maria Callas? To be fair, they did a really good job of balancing the sort of the midline between Angelina Jolie, the Callas singing, and then there are parts where it's definitely Angelina Jolie, which is also very impressive how she was able to actually but all that to say, like, I really think that Callas was a deeply flawed singer, and that is why she became so engrossing. Because she left it all on the stage. And so there's, to your point, it's like, it almost becomes background music when there's not that sort of tangibility of the humanness, the human risk or the fatigue or the tiredness. I think that's true.
Or if you get like an extremely facile, flexible singer who is not going to, their voice is not going to break down in the performance, but then they start adding ornaments and adding flourishes that are even more extraordinary. You kind of wonder, like, how far can this person go? You know, it's like,
Right.
really, that's the excitement to me. But I agree, Callas, to a certain extent, Corelli, you know, that part of that,
1,000,000%.
a part of that excitement is the fragility of the whole experience.
How would you rate this out of 10 if you were to rate this piece, Apocalypse?
I think I'm going to say 6, just because it doesn't change that much throughout.
It didn't, yeah. I wanted to show you something funny. I recently discovered this on a Patreon live stream, and you too can sign up for my Patreon at patreon.com/MarcoMeatball. Also, check out the new merch in the... Just kidding. I'm not trying to be that guy, but I do have 3 shirts that are really cool because they're all about like music. My designer created this. This is average video game music enjoyer, and it's just a night. This is one of like 2 others, and there's the music notes. And anyway, I'm not promoting my shirt right now. I'm just showing Kevin because I haven't shown it. But you too can get a shirt. Anyway, I did.
Can I point to a link?
There's a link down here. I recently discovered on one of my Patreon live streams this thing called Segata Sanshiro, which in the thousands was the Sega like spokesman guy, and he also kind of sings a little bit, and I find this really funny. It's actually a video of him beating up children, which what could be better? But I don't know, I felt compelled to share this with you. I don't know why, just to like have your education. This was the Sega Genesis like ads. We're just gonna watch the first one. They like had this whole journey, and then they like at the end of it they like create this song about, you know, this mythical man Segata Sanshiro, who is forcing the children and all people to play the Sega Saturn.
遊びの道に魂込めた一人の男が今日も行く真面目に遊ばぬ奴らには
Such an anthem.
覚えさせるぞ
Sanshiro, Segata Sanshiro.
Sega Sanshiro.
And obviously it's parody, but isn't it funny how like music, it just incredible that like music can somehow like aid in like the telling of a parody, like a comedy, you know, like musical comedy.
Yeah, like the faux seriousness of it is the joke.
It reminds me of like stuff like from Elixir of Love, like what's his name? Belcore, like this sort of like pompous. It's funny how we've never
Someone who
really
takes
gone
this stuff
inside of
too seriously. And that is even older than Elixir. It's like a Commedia dell'arte.
That's true, isn't it?
You know, it's like Il Capitano.
Yeah.
Walks in with this sort of like oversized idea of himself. That's cool.
This goes to show that like sometimes if it ain't broke, you shouldn't fix it.
It's amazing that didn't make it over to the States.
Yeah, no, that was a Japanese exclusive. There's also another one where he's dressed up as a Santa Claus, and the kids are like, he's like, you will play Sega Saturn, and he like rips off the mask, and he's like, Santa's not real, Sega ta Sanshiro. Anyway, mobile gaming is actually pretty big these days, and there's a lot of different, you know, gacha games and all sorts of games. I mean, you know, you name it, you can play it. There's one game called Nike Goddess of Victory that people swear has incredible music, but if you were to download it, you wouldn't be able to play it in public because there is a lot of boobs and ass on display with the characters. They're hypersexualized female characters. Apparently they're over-sexualized because they're essentially made to do whatever like their masters need or want them to do. That sounds weirder than I mean it, but like it's like they have no purpose. Like their purpose is to follow and obey orders, and they're, you know, super soldiers and so on and so forth, even though they're like totally exposed. So anyway, so you say to yourself, well, how can that be compelling? Because it's just TNA on display, full on like, you know, male fantasy and stuff. But people have been clamoring for me to listen to this piece, and I figured who better to listen to it with than with you. Okay. So apparently this is amazing. This is Goddess Fall, Sing for the Queen from Goddess of Victory Nike. It's been on my to-do list for a long time. So let's listen to it and react to it together.
Okay, keep an open mind.
Yeah. As one should, right?
Yeah.
Oh, mother of ashes, hurting the wings of a day's glory, splendid to see. Blessed be her majesty.
I love how it's twisted, even though it's like an anthem of celebration, right?
Eyes upon the vault of time, skies shattered in the decline, cries echoing in the silent haze of day, fading away. Oh, mother of ashes, tearing the light of a town already undone. Sing, chorus of vows, the word is lost and fading away. It is lost, it is gone, it's her disaster. All hail to the queen, she brings in the. All hail to the queen, she will offer salvation, despair, and sorrow. On the womb of night, trapped in fire, and the lawson, carrying away all existence of gravity, she breathes descend and resound o'er eternity, honored with obscurity. Walk on the dawn of the void, crowned in lament and fear. Sing, chorus of vows, the word is lost and fading away. It is lost, it is gone, it's her disaster. All hail to the queen, she brings in the. All hail to the queen, she will offer salvation, despair, and sorrow. Voices rise and sing, sing for her joy. Oh, sing, sing, sing for the queen.
Huh, didn't resolve.
I know. I kept waiting for her to go.
Da-dee-da.
And I wanted to go.
From Robert Aria.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think of that? And then I'll give my thoughts on it.
It's good. I think that the human voice part of it is so gripping. This is obviously like a Japanese or Asian singer.
No, she's French. Her name's Purnell.
Shoot.
She's actually a jazz singer who they often get her into singing operatic stuff. And she even said herself, she's like, I'm not an opera singer, but I mean, I'll do it.
Often in video games, or
Yeah, she's making
like
her
a streamer or
career.
something, or
No, she's just a person who does YouTube videos, and she does covers. I think right now, actually, at the time of filming this, she was or is in Japan doing the live performances of this game's music live.
Oh wow!
With a symphony orchestra and stuff. Yeah.
You can tell that she has studied the language and really internalized it, because she's telling the story in a way that's very convincing.
Gravitas for sure.
Yeah, and you can hear it in her voice. Like when you have a really good singer, the character of the way that they're singing can be heard beyond just the text. It's like you can hear from how they're expressing it what the character's feeling. That's exciting. Yeah, the harmony's interesting. There's some electronic elements that are really exciting and add to it, I think. I'm into it.
The more I think about opera, the mythical opera, the grander, the larger than life, the cosmic idea of opera. I think this kind of stuff, did I feel like that got a little bit repetitive halfway through? It did, yeah.
Little.
Did I think that it's so cool to hear? So it's like, okay, so that's a con, right? But the pro is that here's taking something that is so old and at least trying something new with it, adding electronic, adding instrumentation.
I think even the backup singers were auto-tuned a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's her singing harmony up in the upper register, and then they just take it, multiply it, and just do something with it, right?
That's cool how that is like this. It's almost like the solo voice has this sort of operatic sound, and then the background voices have this more
digitized.
Yeah,
and I mean, really, like, what's crazy to me is that, like, since this is technically like a character theme, I don't know if it plays when you're fighting whatever this deformed metallic woman is, but like, I like that it is essentially an opera aria. It's a mad scene.
Yeah. It makes me wonder about, like, when people are, it being a mobile game, I'm hoping that when people are playing this, they're wearing headphones and, hearing this properly,
Yeah. Well, it's so for all the reasons that I listed why people might judge the game, when people actually choose to commit to it, the depth that you get is like this. And I do think I've been playing it a little bit, and other than a little bit of like secondhand embarrassment, like, but like it's actually like quite compelling. You know what I mean? Like,
and is it like microtransactions and that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's gotcha. So like, you pull for the character, they give you the currency. It's, and you kind of, at this point in my life, I'm like, well, some people vehemently hate that. I am a glass half full kind of person. I'm like, it's not my favorite, but I mean, I'm an
to get paid somehow, right?
Yeah, I choose to spend my money where I want to spend it within reason. I mean, obviously gambling addiction is real, and one has to keep that in mind. But I mean, like, if you can manage those things, I don't know. I think and honestly, like, if your money is being put into things like this that are trying to at least advance some art form and create some sort of a real artistic, I don't see the problem.
Yeah, there's still story happening. There's still and art happening.
Right.
Visual, audio.
I thought that was good. I give that like a 7.5, 8 out of 10. I thought it was nice. What would you rank?
Maybe 7, just because of the repetition.
Yeah.
And the really evolving in the repetition. But I think the quality of the music is high.
I also like the lyrics. I thought the lyrics were really compelling and interesting. Yeah. That's cool. I'm glad we listened to that together. I actually like this like ranking thing. It's kind of,
I don't know anything about Nikkei.
Now you do.
Now I do.
So staying within this like sort of like solo singer path, I want to check out something that was really cool from a game from a couple years ago, a year ago, called Metaphor Re Fantasio. Have you ever heard of the Persona games?
Yeah.
This is the same format as a Persona game without all the high school stuff. Social structure, a day calendar system, real deep story and lore. And this particular battle theme is cool. I'm not going to spoil it for you just because it's worth experiencing sort of raw, but I dig this battle theme a lot. A little repetitive, but what do you think of that?
That's interesting. I don't know anything about the words, so
It's Esperanto. It's Esperanto.
Esperanto.
Do you know what Esperanto is?
Yeah, I like a constructed language. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an attempt to unify. Well, I mean, again, I'm sort of paraphrasing what happened, but an attempt to unify all the Romance languages under one language.
It almost sounds like patter to me, like a tongue twister.
Yeah.
So I couldn't.
It's a Buddhist monk, by the way.
The singer is a Buddhist monk. I couldn't tell it was supposed to be funny at first.
No, it's supposed to be tense. It's supposed to be like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah. So that was maybe slightly unsuccessful for me, but because I was like, just like, this is silly, just because it's like a lot of syllables at once, and it just sounds like gibberish. But obviously it means something in Esperanto, which makes sense. The choir and the solo voice were real, and then the instruments were...
Yeah, VST, yeah, they were samples. They were samples.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
they were electronic, yeah.
You know, that affects the flexibility of the orchestra part. And so that locks the singers into a very rhythmic, very, they have a click track or they're wearing headphones and they're, it's funny, as you mentioned before, you're immediately reacting to how it makes you feel. I'm immediately thinking about how do they make this, So I'm picturing them in the studio with the headsets and the click track.
Like, no, do it again.
yeah, trying to make it lock in. For a battle theme, it's definitely ramping up the tension.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose at the end of the day, it's not that deep. I mean, I definitely think it's a good piece. I think it's an interesting piece. I think like it's badass, in my opinion, to have the chanting like that because it's like so unique. I mean, that never happens.
It's a unique sound for sure.
Yeah, but that being said, I think it's interesting that your initial response was, "Is this supposed to be funny?" And also, I think you're right in that. And this is my biggest complaint about Atlas games is that they tend to use this MIDI thing. And if they would just go full orchestral, not even orchestral, but full send on the thing.
You only need 4 or 5 musicians. It doesn't have to be a whole orchestra.
Yeah. I think that's the part where it suffers. And it actually becomes kind of grating because it's like, okay, yeah. So you have the real monk singing the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. I guess we're locked in like a mixing prison.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But so if you were to rank that, where would you put that?
I'll go 5.5.
Cool. All right.
Bad?
No, I respect that.
Still good.
No.
Yeah.
No, you know what I like about doing this ranking now is that even when there are people like you who are open-minded and thoughtful, you still have to, at the end of the day, like it's still, people love rankings, but it gives the essence of like, yeah, I like this, and it wasn't my favorite, or it kind of gives it a little bit of a style. I like that. So the next track we're going to listen to is a track which is essentially, do you ever play Command and Conquer games, or do you know what those are?
There's like a map, and you...
Yeah, it's an RTS, so you have it's like war, and you're like, you have to set everybody up. Yeah. And, Command and Conquer, super famous sound. Yeah, so this is kind of like a spiritual successor to it. This is called By Our Blood. Oh, I love that drone at the end there. Hey, what's that theme? What's that theme that they're playing? Ba be ba 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. That's something. That's a real.
Sounds like a hymn tune. Like maybe put it into minor, like da 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 da. You know what I mean?
I could have sworn there's an actual there's a national anthem. I don't know. Anyway, what'd you think of that?
It's cool. It's like sort of like prog rock, kind of like driving, distorted bass guitar thing. It's cool. You know, the cat theme where it's got
Bob. Yeah, you know what's interesting to me is that like pieces like this or like so it got inspiration from very clearly. You wouldn't know this because you haven't played this, but it reminds me a lot of this, which is this is Command and Conquer Red Alert 3. This is the Hell March. Just so you hear the sort of parallel. You know, funny enough, I actually like that better.
I like them both. I mean,
You like them both?
this one feels dated in a way. When would this have been?
Oh God, Red Alert 3 was
15 years ago.
2008. So
Yeah, so that's like the
this is like,
beginning of the popularity. Well, not the beginning, but I mean the beginning of it becoming extremely popular to have those like dubstep elements and the syncopations. To go go go.
plus I think this is symphonic metal anyway, which is slightly different than what we.
Yeah,
The other one is a little bit harder, I think.
the first one that you showed me is more recent. Yeah,
Yeah. It's like in the last 2 years.
yeah. It's a little more like just driving, like rather than showing off the different sort of complex rhythms it can do. It's just like
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's more direct in its simplicity, which
Yeah.
you know that's actually an interesting discussion. Simplicity versus complexity, and like how sometimes actually simple is actually better. You just get out of the way. Let it.
Yeah, well, it's like, I just got so philosophical in my head, but it's kind of like the sort of inexorable march towards death. You know, it's like, damn it, I'm going to keep going no matter what, is in my path. That sort of feels like what's happening in that game.
That's a great point. I actually feel like Red Alert 3 is more like waving its pee-pee around, like, who the fuck do you think you are? You know what I mean? It's waving its dick around a little bit more, which is actually, I mean, I think that serves a purpose, right? Because if it's the theme of like the oppressor or like the person, the conqueror, then sure, why wouldn't I? Yeah, that's cool. Well, how would you rank both of these, I guess, if you were going to rank each of these?
I'd probably give the first one, I've forgotten the name already.
Tempest Rising, the Tempest Rising.
Yeah, Tempest Rising, like an 8.
Great, cool.
Command and Conquer
March
Red Alert 3. That's cool. It's of a time. I remember when that stuff was popular in 2008, 7.
Word. All right, I want to play something kind of weird. This is from Drakengard. Don't ask me the plot. I have no idea. It's kind of experimental in the way that it kind of is unafraid to try something. And this is called Growing Wings. Yeah, I'm really curious. I don't think I've actually heard this in its entirety. So this will kind of be a fresh one for both of us.
The seeds never were, and mankind remains unforgiven.
I mean, Rite of Spring all day, right? I mean,
Panning left and right.
Crimson lights the sky. The birds still asleep. Like a dream, it shines from heaven's safe key. Children's songs we sung as soft as the breeze. And this feels our home. I long for those days. I call out these prayers to the skies, filled with thought. See your face. I carry these memories inside, thoughts of the soul, colored by love. See me grow wings and fly high. Passions will die down below. I burn in the basin of fire. Watchers look on as they dance in the merciless skies, watching me, watching you. Silent black, the dawn, and time tells its tale. Darkened blood, it flows. The forest receives. Look within the dark, as deep as you dare. There inside you find destruction you see. I call out these prayers to the skies, filled with thought. See your face. I carry these memories inside, thoughts of the soul, colored by love. See me grow wings and fly high. Passions will die down below. I burn in the basin of fire. Watchers look on as they dance in the merciless skies, watching me, watching you, watching you.
huh. What do you think of that?
It's certainly the most unique thing we've listened to so far.
It's definitely the most unique thing we've listened to.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. No, I'm into it. It's funny listening to it on headphones because
It oscillates.
the two is in the left and the 3 is in the right.
Yeah.
So it's going
Yeah.
sort of like putting you off balance in your head.
Yeah. But then with the vocals themselves are like the song of hope. But then also the lyrics are twisted. And it
it's
almost
like
feels like
Tainted
it's
blood and
yeah. Watching me, watching you. It's so interesting to me because like it feels like there's this kind of cosmic opposition and like you're stuck in a situation or a scenario you can't escape. And so you just have to ride the wave, even though internally, let's say you're a warrior on a battlefield and you're killing and maiming and slaughtering. Even though internally the subconscious is actually a dance of like deep regret and a guilt. It's almost like I can't stop. I'm compelled to do this. I don't have a choice. And so the contrast there is so fascinating. And obviously the rite of spring connotations there are crazy.
Yeah, that's like that sort of primal
Yeah.
nature thing. We all have this sort of like inner child, right? That has its needs and desires, you know? It feels to me like when it pares down the vocalist to the vocals only and the drums and stuff go away, it's like sort of the childlike simplicity of like, she's not even really
water. Yeah.
She's not like the singer is not even really trying to sound good, you know? Like she's like doing this really, and it's like not even leaning into the phrase.
Yeah, it's like a deep subconscious unrest.
No, I mean, you talk about beauty and simplicity, you know, it's more a profound because it's not performed.
Yeah.
It's just
raw. It's raw.
Just what it is.
Where would you rank that?
It's 8.5 or 9. It's really,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
yeah, it's really interesting to me. It unsettles me in an interesting way.
You like to be unsettled.
Yeah. Well, what else would we do? You know, it's so boring to just hear music that you like and hear music that you're familiar with. You know, I want music that makes me think different.
What is that? Yeah.
Yeah. Remember last time?
The Crazy Bus theme. Yeah, of course. How could I forget? Oh my God. We made me sit through that whole thing for 5 minutes. I remember.
You know, it's like trying to figure out like, how did this get made? And how did it come to be that I sitting at a computer desk listening to this music with you? You know, like that's the kind of stuff it makes me think about, you know. I love that.
Well, you know what? Actually, since we're here, I feel like I have a duty and a responsibility to play something else that is known as like a terrible piece of music. Oh, there's two. I want you to pick. Do you want I'm in the house like carpet, or do you want basement theme?
I don't know what either of those things are. Let's go for basement theme.
Okay. So apparently the story is, so this was from Resident Evil director's cut, and I'm not going to give too much info, but needless to say, I think like the composer, I can't remember the lore. I don't even know if it's real.
I think I maybe heard this once.
You probably have. I mean, like this is like the composer pretended to be deaf. I don't know. Like it's like it doesn't make any sense. But let's vibe to it.
Oh yes, I remember. Yeah.
You've heard.
Yeah.
I mean, it does make one chuckle.
It has structure.
It does have structure.
It's kind of like a demented waltz.
I mean, if you saw a zombie and you heard this,
Yeah.
you'd probably be like, "Oh fuck,"
Yeah.
right?
I get it.
But so theoretically, I mean, like, is that bad? Like, is that bad? Is that
It's not
bad?
intended to be pleasurable.
Well, what makes something bad? You know, we should start there.
What makes something bad is if it doesn't have the desired effect. So if the desired effect is to make you uncomfortable, then that music is highly successful.
But what if you laugh while listening to it, though?
Yeah.
Well, do we laugh out of discomfort? That's
Yeah. If you think it's just a joke, then that's maybe not quite right. But if it's putting you on edge because of your preconceived notions about what music is supposed to sound like, isn't that an artistic endeavor to make us think a little bit more about like why do dissonant electronic trombones make us feel this?
Yeah, that's fair. I love that you're trying to philosophize it. I think it's working. I think it's working. It's,
You know what it reminds me of is that other, you know, there's this like, it's like a trombone music game.
oh yeah,
I don't even know what it is, but you use your mouse to move the trombone pitch.
yeah,
up and down.
yeah.
It's got to be the same,
Yeah, with the
same stem.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's very interesting. Whereas, like, here's an example of something that I feel. So here's In the House Like Carpet. It's not a video game technically, but it's called Burning Men's Soul. And this one, I feel like, I actually think this one is worse because at least like Resident Evil, like the trombone, like, yeah, I don't think it makes me chuckle, but at least like, I feel like that tries to do something. Meanwhile, Persona Trinity Soul, Burning Men's Soul, just listen to this. Listen to the lyrics. A total vibe, like that's fine. You got some Yas flute in there, totally fine, right?
Exactly, yeah.
real instruments. Like it has a vibe to it. Yeah.
Yeah, they spent some money on this.
For sure they did. But that might be part of the problem.
You got the singing flute player.
I love that. I love the emphasis. Essentially creating harmony with the self, doubling the self.
Check it out, I'm in the house like carpet. And if there's too many heads in my blunt, I won't spark it. I'll put it in my pocket and save it like rocket fuel. Till everybody's gone and it's cool, then I spark it up with my brother. His mama named him Moan, but I call him Moan Lover. And he's more than a cover, he's a quill. We're putting shit together like the house that John built on a hill. Cause this shit gonna feel like velvet, turtle. My style fits tighter than a girdle. If you hate it, then you can just leave it like Beaver. But in a day or two, I'll make you a true believer in me. Cause like the alphabet, you'll see that ism kicks a rhyme, not your everyday soliloquy. Like Chef Boyardee, my rhyme is truly cooking. Piece of Matty Rich, cause he's straight out of Brooklyn, New York. I don't eat pork or swine when I dine. I drink a cup of Kool-Aid, not a big glass of wine or a Heineken. If you have time, I'll drop rhyme again.
So, is that bad because we laugh? Is it bad? You know what I mean? Like, where's the line?
Yeah. It's not derivative.
Okay, yeah, true. Like,
It's not uninteresting.
glass half full. You're more glass full than me.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that style of rapping is something that I would like to listen to a lot of. For the purpose of this experiment, it's uncomfortable, I would say.
Of the two, which one would receive your pass? This song or the basement theme?
I think the basement theme.
Because why? Wait, why?
Well, like, because it has a purpose. It's like we're talking about a horror game. The horrifying nature of those sounds make you uncomfortable. That seems to just basically fit the purpose of that music. You know what I mean? That seems to have delivered on its
prize. At least
this
attempt,
is like
its attempt.
Smooth jazz with funk.
The lyrics make no sense.
Like out of time rapping that is uncomfortable.
That's fair. All right, we won't rank those.
Why does that exist?
I don't know. It's hilarious. For humor, to make life slightly better. I wanted to check out this track from a game called Proto Corgi. Before this episode, you met my dog Luna, and I know you love dogs as well. And this game is it's called a shmup, a shoot 'em up, like a classic, this is like Galaga or whatever. Ikaragu. Oh my God, deep cut. You are a gamer.
Again, if we go back to like 2002.
Oh my God. You're like, Einhander on the PlayStation. Of course I play. Games that no one knows anymore. Yeah. But anyway, so this is
gray in my beard.
That's right. Well, me too. Yeah, so this is Imminento Destruction. Totally different from what we've been listening to, but I love that it iterates on the shmup formula, but also makes it kind of its own thing, and it's just fun. And you literally play as a proto corgi. It's so fun. So
Proto corgi. There it is.
There it is. I love this track unabashedly. Style it out. love it. I love it so much.
Nice.
You like that piece?
Hello?
Why?
Why do I love it? Well, for one thing, it's super complex.
Yeah, it actually is, isn't it?
It transports me. I feel like I'm in an absurdist, space cartoon land with, proto corgi.
He's gonna look out for you.
Yeah, right.
He takes care of you. You don't take care of
He's not the hero we need, but he's the hero we just.
You're the only one.
No, but I mean, I think like that kind of like absurdity is like what I go to video games for. It's like an experience, a first-person experience that is not at all analogous to my real life. That's like true escapism, being in this sort of crazy alternate world.
The melody is so charming.
Oh, it's great. And it's like funk and jazz and like it's clearly, created by real musicians,
1000%. But it really feels like a corgi, like it's like it is the theme of like happiness. You know what I mean? Like when I picture a dog, like my dog at her happiest, I actually hear this song. Like it's just so and it's energetic and it's vibrant and it's interesting to me how I love your perspective on it. Now you're open-minded, so it'd be more interesting with a person who's not open-minded. Sorry, but like why do we think that electronic music became, as popular as it is. Like I didn't discover electronic music until about 3 years ago. Like my wife has been to EDC and like, she's done all this like cool stuff. She would love this track. She'd go nuts for this. And it's like, I wonder why. And, I also think like, are we, or not necessarily you and I, but like, are we so preoccupied with producing something of a high quality that then we listen to this in the classical space and we think that we're above it, or is that a preconception that I have about the industry? And like, to me, like, it's like, I listen to this and this feels so much more free than the stuff that we
Well, it's
came
certainly
up.
not constrained by like human ability.
Well, for sure.
So like that's what the things that interest me about electronic music are expressing sounds that humans can't produce, or like that are just physically nearly impossible to do for an extended period of time. The speed of this, the tempo, the driving nature of it would be really, really challenging for humans to reproduce. Although I will say, I will admit that while I was listening to it, I was imagining it would make for a very cool cover.
Oh my
with
God,
like that, like a big band or something like that. Like on real instruments. But the electronic nature of it is cool too. And and it's just the harmonies are just so. There's substitutions and non-chord tones all over the place, and it's just so out there and funky, kind of postmodern stuff that's really neat.
It's cool that you know that stuff. I feel sometimes that I'm really limited with my vocab because I don't care about chord structure, harmony, and chord progressions and stuff. And I feel like what defines a musician, I don't necessarily think it's knowing the chord names, not knowing what a dominant, subdominant, But I think it's really interesting that as a singer / musician / intellectual, like you have this ability, like you enjoy that stuff. And again, like I feel like I'm just like, do I like it? Do I not like it? It's very hard for me to not like something. But with you, I feel like it's really interesting to talk to you because I feel like you're on the opposite side of the spectrum where you still feel that stuff, but also you're like thinking about it from like a, like we talked about earlier, from like a theory, at least like a lens, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the things that stick out to me are the things that are unexpected, So like if there's a chord that I know, I might not be able to identify every note in the chord or like exactly label it, but if it feels like, oh, that's leading a different direction than it was going before, like that's probably some kind of a substitution or like a modulation. And then you can also hear when there's like a main chord and then there's extra notes on top that are like
of course,
sort of stankifying the music, because I think this music's pretty stanky,
It's definitely stanky.
Who would be a totally natural cover for this would be, because of the name, Snarky Puppy. Like this is a great funk band.
It is?
Jazz funk band called Snarky Puppy.
I did not know that was a real band.
Yeah, they're amazing.
What would you rate this if you were going to rank it?
9.5.
Yeah, that sounds about right. This is a gorgeous track. This is called Seashore War. And if I recall, this was composed by, David Wise. So Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze was a more modern iteration on the Donkey Kong formula. Of course, you know Donkey Kong since you've played games, 20
I remember Donkey Kong Country.
This is a really gorgeous, it's just a beautiful song. What do you think of that?
It's a little trancy, you know, like
Yeah.
it's a little bit like transporting you into sort of this like tropical thing that's also like you're not moving around too much, you know.
No.
You're just kind of chilling out.
Seashore War. What an interesting title. Because to me, with the chorus and with the, you know, the sort of like the really reflective guitar, it actually feels like it's the end of a battle. Like, oh shit.
Like you get a chance to rest.
Yeah. And you're like still alive. You're still here. Do you like that? Did you like that sound?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of fits in the like sort of Nintendo sounds,
1,000,000%. Yeah, 1,000,000.
you know, which I kind of like. You know, I like that they have a brand that they stick with, and that they like it's got the kid friendly thing, and it's got like the like sort of, but it's not in. I would never call it inoffensive. You know?
No, oh no, it's not that shallow.
It's sophisticated, and it's like, but it has a soundscape that sort of invites you into sort of like this sort of playland, you know, like and Kirby and
You know what's odd too is that like if we compare it to Stickerbush Symphony, you've probably heard this because you played one of the Donkey Kongs, but like here, listen to this.
Okay, yeah.
Listen to how it's low key similar, but not. It was something modern. I actually think this is actually a better track than what I just played you.
This is from the Super Nintendo game?
Yeah, this is Donkey Kong 2, I think. Donkey Kong Country 2. Maybe 3? It might be 3, actually. Oh, that actually might be in the original. It's DK2.
That's cool.
Which of the two do you like better? Personally, I like this one better.
Yeah, this is a little more
Complex.
specific.
Yeah.
You know, like it's got more of a voice. The other one is a little more trancy. It's more like just a
Placid?
set without like a story, really. This one has a little more of a, you know, a melody and a story.
Yeah, that's also a little bit of drive.
It's interesting that they're playing a lot with like pitch bending and like sort of like not exactly 12 tone, you know, like there was a like chromatic rising thing that seemed to be in between pitches sometimes. I don't, you know, that I didn't even know that the technology could do that back then.
It begs the question, like, is this the truest and most pure version of video game music? Is the orchestral stuff? Yeah, I mean, this is sort of something I've been thinking about. There's no right answer because ultimately we are where we are. But it's like, is this not the core of the video game sound? Like, is the orchestral thing? Because anybody can do that, and like
an expansion on this,
right? And the thing is, like, I think that this was, and especially MIDI, was like the intended desire was to be able to have this kind of technology to do what they do and what we've listened to. Not to say that that's invalid,
yeah.
right? So like, what do you think? I mean, you know, having no frame of reference now, it's like for the last 20.
It's all based on, you know, how the listener relates their own cultural experience to the music. You know, so like for someone who's 15 right now, they don't have a history of MIDI in their video games. Like that's not their baseline.
That's a good point.
So, but for us who are old guys, we joke about being quote unquote classically trained, you know, with the NES controller. Yeah, you cannot remove my experience with the NES from my memory, right? So the NES, the SNES, and the Sega Genesis, and the N64 are like literally from age 5 to 18 for me. Mm-hmm. So that is inherently what is fused into my music making fibers of my brain. That in addition to all the other music I was making at the time. So my experience with something like Final Fantasy 13 is colored by my experiences with what we would have called at the time Final Fantasy 3, which is Final Fantasy 6. They're inextricable from each other because it's just in my past. So I can't really imagine listening to, Warframe without having the experience of having been raised on Sonic. To me, it'd be interesting also to talk to young people who don't have that frame of reference. I mean, I guess everybody has, Bluey or Dora the Explorer or something as a frame of reference, So in that way, like whatever media we've been exposed to influences the way our brains interact with this stuff.
True.
To answer your question, the music was made with that technology at the time because it fit on the cartridge. And the data that would have been required to make an orchestral sound was too large.
Right.
So it follows then that now that we have the space to do it, we should use it. But I think the bones and the structure of the simple music, the simple MIDI music, quote unquote simple, the music that's made using fewer tools, it exists in all the music that came after it.
Right.
Because all the composers learned from the previous composers, and
well, exactly, it has its own. But ironically, I mean, you still tether everything back to Bach and the historic. I mean, this is just another period of history in music. No
film
different
music. Video game music comes from film music, and film music comes from music theater.
Right.
And music theater comes from opera, which comes from Palestrina. And
all the way if you want to really.
Yeah.
But this is it's the inherent problem of like, when you bring obviously we're friends and I understand your, open-mindedness, but if I was going to bring this stuff to somebody who has never, ever heard it, who's an old head, who's a bit, a little bit more calloused and a little bit more, maybe even dare I say jaded. It's like, well, are they going to, and the thing is like, we want to, there's the advocation for, well, it's not just beeps and boops. But then it's like, but also fundamentally, that's where it derives from. And is there anything wrong with beats and boosts? And there's anything, but the problem is that there was a stigma, and there continues to be a stigma of this music being unsophisticated and uninteresting. And so through this series, I mean, I hate to say it like this, but like this, it's an easy flex to have you on the channel and or like, Maria Valdez or some, or, like my friends who like I know are gonna vibe because they're open-minded. But like, have you ever worked with Stephen White?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I had Stephen on the channel, and I need to upload that episode. So by the time, if you're watching this, go watch that episode. It's really interesting. I played some really interesting classical pieces for Stephen White, but I wasn't going to bust out Doom or, something really hard, because not to say he's not open-minded, but he is, in fact, and that episode's great. But moreover, it's the fact that like he's so entrenched in what he knows, and he knows so much. Yeah, it's just
an operatic repertoire. Yeah,
it's just such an interesting conversation. But anyway, all that to say, like, I actually prefer Stickerbush to the Seashore War because it feels more authentic, even though that's the very thing that I'm trying to fight against.
Yeah, it's like they're maximizing the emotional output with a very minimal set of tools.
Exactly. And it's just cool. I mean, it's just cool. Totally. How would you rank?
When I think back to like the music that when we were kids, we wanted to keep reproducing was like, Eris theme and
of course.
It's this cliche stuff, but it's because it had such a big emotional impact.
Right. Now, granted, you haven't heard, I mean, you're savvy, so you obviously know, but like, is the sound being different than where it was, say, 20 years ago? I mean, it's probably not surprising to you, but have you been surprised by what have you been surprised by, if anything?
I mean, to me, it's just the most surprising thing is just that they decide to spend money on real musicians, because they could easily get away with a much less expensive version,
right?
With mostly electronic production, but to book a hall and an orchestra and a a recording engineer is tens and tens of thousands of dollars for an album's worth of music.
Well, it shows that there's a passion to
clearly it matters,
honor the artistic presence of it.
Yeah, clearly they've decided that it's worth it. They also can not only make money on the game itself, but also make money on the sale of the soundtrack, which probably was not in the minds of the composers of the NES games.
fair point.
Although now it exists, but
Yeah, but that's a great point as well. To the idea that like, this kind of expands even outward, where it's like artistry can be commodified and be sold and be a part of a business. Well, and see, here's the rub, and it's interesting because there's what is defined as, it's very unlikely that you'll get bad music in a video game simply because it's a product.
I mean, they want to make you feel something.
Right. And if it's bad, I mean, like if it doesn't make you connect to the subject matter, then it's failing at its job, like you mentioned. But then it becomes like, at that point, is everything that comes out, is any of it really all that interesting? Because none of it really hinges on like whether or not it's actually good or not. The goal is for it to be successful, period.
Well, and they're just not as limited as they used to be by the data limits on the even the discs back in the day. Like everything had to be looped and just repeat itself. And now they can have a 15-minute track or something, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so are they going into it with the purpose of financial gain? Probably not. I think it's mostly like they want to make something that they think sounds cool.
Right.
Their bosses care about it making money, And so like if it has a popular appeal, that's like a bonus, and it makes money for the company. They get to make more games and make more artistic output. It's kind of like just a necessary evil, is that like these people have to get paid somehow. That means that people have to engage with it beyond just the game, either on Spotify or by purchasing an album or going to a concert, in person. The fact that those, orchestral events are becoming more and more common is a huge boon for video game music in general, because the financial viability of it makes it just more possible.
1,000,000%. Don't forget too that, I mean, like if the soundtrack is not talked about. So this is an interesting conundrum too, or an interesting thing that I've noticed, is that if a game is very popular, because I'm on the other side of it, where I'm still in gaming, but I'm into music.
Yeah.
Right. So the thing that's interesting to me is that if a soundtrack doesn't hit, but the game hits, there will be very little interest in the soundtrack. But if the soundtrack hits and the game hits, all of a sudden it's amplified. Yeah. And that's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Right. Because you wouldn't think it. You wouldn't think that the music actually, if the music is of a high caliber and it enhances that storytelling and game experience, suddenly now we're paying attention, rather than like, oh, the music's fine. Okay. Yeah. But the game is good, but the music's fine. Okay. But if the game is good and the music is good, all of a sudden it's that ice cream on top. It's not just the crust then. Then it becomes the ice cream. It becomes, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh.
And then you got people listening to it while they're playing a different game.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And isn't that crazy? I want to move us over to essentially like a tenor aria, kind of.
Okay.
This is from a game called Silk Song, Hollow Knight Silk Song. So it's a sequel to the 2019 Hollow Knight, 6 years ago. Crazy. So this is called Trobio. when I said tenor aria, I meant a piano concerto. But hold on, because there's also tormented trovio, which I believe is the tenor aria. Hold on one second. Let's follow up. Okay, so not a tenor aria, but a orchestral classical. Anyway, so this is a variation on a theme within a video game. So we hear, this is the tormented version of Trovio.
Yeah.
What do you think of those two? I mean, God, I hadn't heard Trovio's gorgeous. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a very standard classical piece that, would be not out of place in a concert hall. It's got a sort of programmatic aspect in that it's like representing a character.
Of course.
Yeah, no, it sounds like excellent orchestral music.
Does that make it boring?
The fact that it sounds like normal classical
sounds like
music?
anything else. Yeah.
Not necessarily. No, I mean, they're like anything. It relates in my brain to something else that I recognize. Then the success or failure of it is based in where it surprises me, where it subverts my expectations, and I kept being surprised by it in a way that, interested me, so for me, that's successful and it's exciting to listen to. And like, even just the idea of, your average gamer just playing a regular video game and hearing that soundscape, that like piano concerto soundscape, played well and played interestingly. And,
right.
That just seems like a positive for everyone,
Yeah. That's what I think when I hear it, because I'm like, yeah, it does sound like every other piece that I've ever heard, but that's good. In my mind, that's good.
Yeah.
Somebody else, that might be like derivative.
It's a descendant of the traditional piano concerto form.
Right. And if we're trying to advocate for that style of music and we're trying to get people into concert halls or symphony halls and get them into, this butts in the chairs and get people to buy these tickets, then to me, it's like, this is a perfect way to introduce the fact that, that gamers actually are very sensitive and very open to classical music.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
But if you play that to somebody else, they're going to be like, oh, it's like everything I've ever heard. And that's a pejorative, which I find very interesting.
I mean, it's reduced into a shorter track.
Right.
Maybe makes it simpler. I don't know, but it's not like, to me, the harmony is interesting enough.
How would you rank that out of 10?
7.5.
Let's pop over to something that's really fun called The Binding of Isaac. This is a lovely piece called The Thief.
Very interesting.
It's definitely like a mood piece, right? But what are the sort of the things that you sort of hear in that?
Well, it's got like there's sort of religious undertones. There's the church organ, there's the Latin text, that just feels like it adds importance to the story. It's sort of a fake out. Like it starts with that like lo-fi kind of like barely there music, and then it adds and adds and adds, and then it actually becomes something quite grand.
I hear a lot of pain in that. A lot of decay, a lot of...
We're like feeling lost, feeling wandering.
Suspended in midair, yeah.
Yeah. This is the kind of stuff I think about. I would love to know what the email was like from the people requesting the music from the composer. Like, what did they
The brief,
for?
yeah.
What was the prompt to get something like that? That's such a bizarre soundscape that it makes me wonder, like what was he trying to produce?
But also, like, what kind of sorcery is that? That's magic.
Right, it's a lot of samples of a lot of different things. And yeah, no, it's cool. Really cool.
What would you rank that?
9.5.
Really cool game, too. I mean, you could play that game for thousands of hours, and you wouldn't necessarily... It's the kind of game where if you die, you restart, and it kind of just go further and further into... Yeah, it's just kind of fucked up. I mean... At one point, you have to fight your mom because she, if I recall, I can't remember all the deals. Sorry, guys. If you want to comment, Kevin will read the comments. So if you want to explain what the Binding of Isaac is, you know more than I only have like 5 hours in the game. But this is the type of game where you could play for like 2,000 hours because you're constantly restarting, and so you're learning the ways to it's very body horror elements, and you play a baby basically. Gosh, I don't know what to play next.
Grand finale.
I'm hovering over like 3 different pieces: Latin medieval, Great Britain, Omnissiah.
Let's go Great Britain.
I cried when I listened to this. So this is from Civ 6.
Civ 6.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Everyone knows Civ. I believe this is supposed to represent it's Great Britain during the modern age, composed by Jeff Knorr. Actually, funny enough, Christopher Tin, who did the main theme and does the music in the Civ games, apparently he just wrote the finale of Turandot for Washington National Opera. Apparently, Francesca found him because her son was playing Civ 5. And
that's cool.
If I recall the story, I think he told me this story, I'm pretty sure. And he was like, oh, it's Christopher Tin. And then that's the call. Crazy. And of course, like Christopher Tin, one of the first people to win a Grammy for, music and in interactive media for video games. But this is not, this is Jeff Knorr. it's so like prototypically like romantic classical and yet like romantic period, but yet it is intense. It's like it takes you on a whole ass journey, doesn't it?
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of like Vaughan Williams, you know, like it's obviously like uncontrovertibly British sounding, but it's like grandiose in a way that it's sort of like this, you know, the way Britons think of greatness. Trying to be a little careful what I say, but if let's say in this game one of the goals might be to conquer the world or explore the globe, you can hear the aspirational nature of Great Britain in that music and its ties to the Church of England.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a hymn. I believe this is a real piece that is rearranged for the game.
Makes sense. Yeah, like a hymn tune.
It does kind of like encapsulate, like, so it's grandiose in that, like, I feel like it's like an overarching goal and also I think it also alludes to the every person, you know, the every sort of the
Industrial Revolution, the working man,
the toils of the individual, you know, and then the hope for the future and the blessings of the Queen. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's elegant though, isn't it? It's elegant.
Yeah. But there's a tinge of, you know, is this the right choice, you know, to explore?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ebbing and flowing in it as well. I mean, it's definitely like a beautiful piece of music that, I mean, put it in a symphony hall. I'll be there day one. Sure. You know what I mean? Like it's...
And it's an American composer. How amazing.
Oh, is it that?
Yeah, I looked just while I was listening. I was like, this clearly is like a student of, you know, the line of English composers from, 1850 to now.
Yeah.
It sounds Elgar and Holst and that sort of like symphonic repertoire. But it's actually like an American person imitating that.
Yeah. Kind of takes your breath away a little bit, doesn't it? Like by the end of it, I was like, oh, that was a whole ass journey, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What would you rank that?
I'd be interested to hear the other countries too, now that I hear that.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right?
There's an English-centric viewpoint that we have as English speakers that, like, you know, so like the British sound is like the normal sound.
Yeah.
You know.
Right, yeah.
You know, and then we would hear something Italian or Japanese and it would sound foreign to us or it'd have a foreign color. And I'd be interested to hear what those countries sound like in their sort of proto, you know, idea of exploration or expansion.
Well, I mean, isn't it interesting though? Like, I mean, can an American writing about the British sound can this be exoticism? I mean, in theory it is, because exoticism, as we know, I remember one time
in some ways Americans are anti-British.
That's true.
Or anti-imperialism, maybe.
Yeah. I find it interesting that like exoticism has like a negative connotation, but like the concept musically has been around. I mean, like, you know, I guess we most hear it. I mean, there are things like the Scheherazade but it really comes into fruition, I think, most, at least in the operatic repertoire, with Carmen, obviously. And it's tricky because like Madama Butterfly is an example, like a Japanese sound and like whatever that is. Like, there is a bit of
a deeply Italian piece of music. Yeah.
But, you know, one has to be careful because you don't want to caricaturize, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
But then there are people will say, well, you know, we shouldn't, you know, Gilbert and Sullivan and the Mikado, we shouldn't deny the historical, whatever the flaws are, Turandot, even though it's like, you know, there's a degree of implicit racism in it and so on and so forth. I personally think, like, on the flip side though, then you've got Puccini writing La Fanciulla del West, and that's like a exoticism approach to the Wild West, you know, turn of the century United, you know, far, you know,
it's like a honky version.
I find it interesting that, like, in theory, this is exoticism written about Great Britain. So, like, what would it sound like? I suppose unless you get a person who is like from the place. I don't know. Anyway, this is.
I mean, it's not maybe necessarily making fun of it.
Certainly not. I don't think so. I think, if anything, it's like homage or I mean, and I think like that's where the line is. Like, I don't think like Carmen is a distinctive, like, just because a French guy wrote it doesn't mean that it's not. I don't view it as anyway, this is a whole separate conversation. But so if you were gonna rank this, where would you place this piece?
Probably like 8.5.
So ultimately your favorite pieces were the slightly out of the realm of normal. It was the proto-corgi piece and the the Drakengard piece.
And the Isaac.
The Binding of Isaac, right? Yeah. So essentially, I gave you stuff that you already know, and then the weird stuff was where you. It's just interesting to me how, like, you know, some person might be like, oh, I love the classical pieces because they remind me of the, you know. Meanwhile, for you, you're looking for the zhuzh, the spice,
something that changes my brain, changes my thinking.
I mean, now this is the second time you've listened to music with me, and first of all, thank you, and second of all, do you feel like your opinions have continued to change towards video game music, or not? Maybe not continue to change because you were already on board, but just like
it's a wider range of things than I realized.
Yeah.
You know, when you included the mobile game, I wasn't expecting that. I don't even remember which one that was, but
Nikkei, it was Nikkei, yeah.
Nikkei, right? Yeah. I think of a mobile game, I think of like Candy Crush. You know, that is sort of, I don't know, slop, basically. You know, it's something to just like make your brain take a break for a second.
Right.
And so the music is represented by that in a way. You know, it's sort of inoffensive and
yeah, it's just jingles and
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but for a mobile game to be more in depth and more testing your limits or their limits, you know, or the device's limits, you know, that's interesting to me. So that's something I hadn't thought about, and makes me wonder about the possibilities.
Oh, there's I mean, the mobile sphere actually is probably the most maligned, but also I think like in some ways the most interesting because of the sheer level of composition, and also the sheer variety of it's actually crazy. It's crazy how much.
So then, do people who are into mobile gaming get like game specific devices to play them on?
I mean, they can. I mean, most of the time, ideally, it's optimized to run on like whatever phone. Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's a certain threshold for your phone be able to. Every phone iterates on itself to be better. I mean, there are people that exclusively play mobile games now. Whether or not that's a good thing, that's a separate conversation. I don't necessarily think so. I think you should have variety. But like, you know, the thing about mobile games is that they're free to play. And so that means that like, you know, a person in whatever part of the world can sit down and have an experience, and for better or for worse. The most money in the game industry, I think, is actually coming from, and it makes sense, right? These gambling gotcha games. But yeah, I figured, you know, I would throw a whole bunch at you and see where we landed. And listen, Kevin, I mean,
thank you. With the way the rankings turned out?
I honestly no. And honestly, a lot of our rankings were kind of aligned. I mean, it was fun to listen to a couple tracks for the first time myself here too. So I mean, it's great. No, I think it's really interesting to hear how you approach music and how I approach music, and how both formats are both ideas are perfectly valid and also really interesting because it's all about life and lived experience and context, no context. You know, you're going into these things kind of blind, but I think it's really important to always present these in a raw, you know, no visual format, so you can just also hear and savor the music and expound on the music as it is. I think while I think all this stuff does serve ultimately the context, I think we can accidentally dilute the experience because of the visuals. And
totally,
I think we should take time to just listen to it for listening's sake. So thank you very much, and thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this second episode with Kevin. If you haven't seen the first episode, definitely check it out. Thanks a ton, and we'll see you later. Bye everybody, take care, be well.